Can you hear the gentle whir of a camcorder as it captured the magic of birthdays, graduations, and Sunday barbecues? If you ever squinted through a viewfinder while everyone waved awkwardly at that bulky device, you know the special thrill. The 1980s camcorder wasn't just a gadget, it was a passport to memories, turning ordinary family moments into forever films. Just the feel of that hefty plastic on your shoulder and the satisfying click as the tape locked in place brings back a flood of images, holiday gatherings with out-of-focus cakes, toddlers tumbling on shag carpets, and cousins huddled in frame. These weren't polished productions, but moments raw and real, complete with laughter, background chatter, and a parent's running commentary. How often did you revisit those tapes, reliving fashions and faces that have faded with time? For many families, these grainy home movies became a cherished time capsule. But what made these camcorders so revolutionary, and why does their footage still tug at our hearts? Let's rewind to discover how these chunky cameras helped us capture the spirit of the 80s, one unforgettable tape at a time. As we slide back to the earliest days of the 1980s, it's hard not to marvel at just how quickly the world of family memories was transformed. Before camcorders marched onto the scene, the art of preserving a moment was mostly the domain of film cameras and, for the lucky few, Super 8 movie cameras. Those spools of film and bulky projectors belonged to a relatively small club, mainly hobbyists and dads willing to wrangle fiddly film strips and reels. The idea of instantly playing back a moving picture from a single handheld device, that was closer to science fiction than Saturday afternoon reality. So when the first true camcorders appeared, it was like the curtain going up on a whole new act of family life. Back then, the catch was the cost and complexity. Early videotape recorders from the 1970s could weigh nearly 20 pounds and required a separate shoulder-slung VCR unit tethered to a camera. Imagine trying to capture your child's first steps while juggling a bag of bricks. Not exactly user-friendly. That's why the camcorder's arrival in the 80s felt like a revelation. The very first mass-market camcorders like Sony's Betamax BMC 100p or JVC's GRC1 collapsed the old separation of camera and recorder into a single, portable brick. Now one person could record, review, and relive an event, all from the palm or shoulder of their hand. But what set the 1980s apart was more than technology, it was timing. Across America, families were ready and eager for a way to tell their own stories at home. Cable TV and VHS rentals were changing the way people consumed media, and the camcorder fit perfectly into this new culture of personal entertainment. For the price of a second-hand car, you could bring home a futuristic wonder that promised to bottle lightning every piano recital, backyard baseball game, or newborn's first giggle, right there in living color. And speaking of color, here's a surprising twist. While we associate the 80s camcorder age with vivid home movies, it wasn't until mid-decade that color recording really became the norm. The earliest consumer video cameras often managed only black and white, and focusing them required patience and skill. Automatic focus? Not yet. Even exposure could be finicky. You might recall that beloved washed-out look from sunny picnics, or grainy, moody footage of candlelit birthday cakes. But that didn't matter much when the trade-off was that immediate thrill. Look, there we are on the screen. That first moment of playback, gathered around the TV with cords snaking across the shag carpet, could make the whole family cheer. Have you ever wondered about those first brave souls who dared to lug a camcorder to public events or school functions? In the beginning, camcorders were so new that their mere presence could draw stares or even a crowd. Folks weren't sure whether to smile or freeze, and some worried they were about to be broadcast on the 6 o'clock news. In fact, One little-known tidbit: early camcorders were sometimes mistaken for equipment used by local television stations, leading more than a few amateur videographers to get behind the scenes access they never intended and sometimes weren't allowed. Have you ever been mistaken for a pro just for owning the latest gadget? Then there was the question of format: VHS, Betamax, Video 8, each with its own loyal following and plenty of household debates. The so-called format wars echoed through living rooms. Would your treasured tapes be viewable for years or lost to the march of obsolescence? Most families eventually settled on VHS thanks to its longer recording times and compatibility with home VCRs. But Betamax devotees still argue, even decades later, that their footage looks sharper to this day. Do you remember which camp your family belonged to, or the thrill and anxiety of pressing that red record button, hoping everything worked as promised? Behind the technology, there was an unmistakable sense of adventure. School plays, weekend softball games, and church picnics were suddenly open to instant documentation. Camcorder-toting parents became the unofficial historians of their neighborhoods. One surprising fact: home video footage from the 80s is now increasingly valuable to historians and documentary makers. Those wobbly shots of parades, block parties, and even shopping malls capture landscapes and fashions that no professional camera crew ever bothered to film. Thanks to the camcorder boom, tiny slices of everyday Americana have been preserved, from food courts packed with perms and pastel windbreakers to the nervous first day at a new school, now immortalized on tape. And let's not forget the feelings wrapped up in those early recordings: the surprise laughter over a forgotten outfit, the warmth of a grandparent's voice echoing anew, the innocent chaos of a holiday meal. Camcorders made it possible to revisit not just faces but the sound, laughter, and cadence of people long gone. One study from the late 80s even found families who routinely watched their home videos reported stronger bonds and richer traditions than those who didn't. Is there a moment captured on tape you still cherish above all others? By the end of the decade, the camcorder was as much a part of family life as the microwave or answering machine. What started as a luxury for early adopters quickly became an expected event at every important milestone. The rituals began to change too. It wasn't unusual to find a well-meaning parent orchestrating everyone into shot, making sure no one blocked the view, and occasionally issuing stage directions from behind the lens. For better or worse, a new kind of stage fright crept in. Did you ever find yourself freezing up when that red light blinked on, or waving awkwardly while trying not to trip over a tangle of extension cords? From narrower beginnings in film clubs and tech stores, camcorders powered a quiet revolution. They moved from clunky experimental curiosities to cherished household companions. The camcorder, in a way, democratized memory, handing the power to record history, one cassette at a time, to every living room, school auditorium, and grassy front yard in America. But that's just where the story begins. The real magic of the 80s camcorder revolution lay in the leaps these machines made, not just in availability, but in design, recording quality, and ease of use. How did technological ingenuity turn these shoulder-bruising behemoths into something millions of families could truly enjoy? Join me in the next part as we take a closer look at the breakthrough features and fascinating quirks that made the 80s camcorder experience so unique. As we come to the end of our journey through the era of 80s camcorders, it's easy to see how these chunky plastic wonders were so much more than gadgets. They were part of the family. We've revisited how they revolutionized home video by putting the ability to capture moving memories into everyone's hands, closing the gap between special occasions and lasting keepsakes. From the earliest days of hauling an armload of equipment just for a few minutes of grainy footage to the excitement as features like color picture, autofocus, and lighter designs made their way into our living rooms. 80s camcorders truly shaped the way we remember the past. We laughed at awkward poses and accidental recordings, debated over VHS and Betamax, and spent countless evenings gathered around boxy TVs, reliving the sound of familiar voices, holiday chaos, and the simple magic of everyday life. It was never about perfection. Shaky tracking lines, muffled voices, and impromptu narrations just added to the charm. Most of all, it was about togetherness. The act of gathering everyone in the frame or piling onto the couch to watch and re-watch family antics became a treasured ritual. Home movies brought us closer, helping to cement bonds across generations and distances. For many of us, the brief clip of a child's proud grin or a relative's gentle laughter is more valuable than any professional production. Looking back, it's clear that the camcorder era stands as a symbol of connection and a testament to the value we place on memory. Long before everyone carried a camera in their pocket, there was something so intentional about pressing record, a small act that whispered, "This matters, we want to remember this." These tapes, often tucked away and almost forgotten, now hold voices we miss, faces that changed, and stories that remind us who we are. Pulling them out can bring a rush of warmth, a pinch of longing, and a sense of gratitude for the simple joys we might have overlooked at the time. How lucky we were to capture slices of life that now mean the world to us, each flicker of tape a bridge between then and now. It's no wonder so many of us feel a tug at the heart when we hear that familiar whir or see the distinctive timestamp flicker across the screen. A reminder that time moves on, but memories endure in all their fuzzy glory. What is the one home movie from your collection you find yourself returning to time and again? Is it a milestone, a quiet everyday moment, or an unexpected snippet that brings a smile and maybe even a happy tear? I'd love to hear about your favorite camcorder memories in the comments below. What did you capture that means the most to you today? If you enjoyed this walk down memory lane, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more stories from the past that deserve to be relived. Feel free to share this with friends or family who filmed alongside you or might be inspired to dust off those old tapes. There are many more memories to celebrate in upcoming videos. After all, in a world where everything is instantly shareable, sometimes it's those imperfect, irreplaceable camcorder recordings that truly connect us, reminding us that the heart of every family story is found, frame by frame, in the laughter, love, and little moments we chose to save.